Hello, once again, my friends. Hope everyone had a wonderful week. By the way, I just want to bring you up to date. Janine is doing much better. She's able to walk around. It still hurts. It's going to take several months to heal. And the pain will probably linger for quite a while. I have heard this from numerous folks who have had broken ribs. She didn't have a complete fracture, but a crack, actually. So that's not so horrible, I suppose. My son-in-law, who had a stroke a couple of weeks ago, is doing much better. He is, he has to go through occupational therapy to get his arm back again. He's a lefty, so he has lost some of the functionality on his left arm. This is what I used to do in the Army, and I know that it is a very long, long process, and I don't know whether he can psychologically go through that. He is like, I want it now. And he's going to have a rude awakening, but at least he's doing fine. And I think this coming week, he's going to be going to therapy. So, anyway, so welcome again. We're going to go ahead and look at our current folks that we have here. Let me go ahead and remove this so that I can go ahead and load my subject file here. Well, let's say howdy to everyone first. And I just realized I said I was going to do it last week, and I totally forgot about it. I need to go upstairs later and top off my wife's 15,000 cartridge. So the Epson XP 15,000. We're going to discuss that first, and then we'll continue on. So let's say howdy. Who's the first one here? TPD, 605. And he's Ron K. Again, I don't understand this new way of naming our guests here. But anyway, Ron K. here from Trenton, New Jersey. Epson Ecotech 8550, QMH Ultimate Lifetime, Canon R5 Mark II, and a Canon 7D. Welcome back, my friend. Okay, what in the world? This must be Nigel. 20 BCRP 030853. Okay, from Wales, UK. Canon Pro 300 with all the trimmings. Welcome. Yes, I figured that was you, Nigel. Crazy. Kevin Bruniarski. At least some of these keep the people's name. 6567, whatever that means. Hello from Ellsworth, Wisconsin. Canon Pro 300, Epson XP 15,000, Epson EcoTank 8550. Henry Stoffel here from Cool and Overcast, Medford, Mass. Epson P800, OEM Inks, and of course QMH Ultimate. Let's see, we have, what kind of weather do we have here today? It says 58 and windy. Yes, very windy today. I drove past a house that had a lot of those wind chimes. They were going crazy. I almost thought they were going to become damaged. Richard Bender from Hagerstown, Maryland is here. Happy Sunday to you, my friend. EcoTank 8550. I think you got an extra 9 there. QMH Ultimate, Nikon D300, Coolpix 995 cameras. And we're going to be looking at one of those photographs. The 995 was a swivel lens, wonderful little camera that Nikon put out back in the early days of digital. And it was only like 3.3 megapixels, something like that. And amazing the quality that we got. And I'm going to show you this because we're going to print an 11 by 8.5. I'm going to do a full frame and try to fill as much of the paper as I can to show you guys the quality this camera could produce. It's just crazy. I remember making that size, letter size prints with it. And yeah, then things kind of developed and evolved. And I don't think things got that much better, really, to be truthful. That camera was really good, and you can put it right on the floor because you had a swivel lens and tilt that lens, and you had a little screen you could look at. Wonderful camera. I wish I could find a used one. And Richard, you said you were able to find batteries for it? Great. He originally signed in at 1 o'clock, but was stripped out. Yeah, you were probably working late, my friend. But you came back at a very decent time, 11:46. Harold Davies, my good friend. I call him my brother because we discussed our families and our customs, and I gave him my family nickname that only family members can call me by that nickname. And he told me his as well. So from now on, we sign our emails back and forth with our nicknames. La Crosse, Wisconsin, P1100, 2100 PC is ENQ image. Photo Nikon 8, I always say backwards, see, I flip things. 780, don't ask me to be your bookkeeper, okay? Hello from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Canon Pro 1000, Epson, EcoTank 8550, XP 15000. That seems to be the combination. A Pro 1000 or 1100, then the 8550, and the XP 15000. Yep. OEM ink, paper, and Red River QImage Ultimate. Kevin says, let's try to hit the like button. Yes, please do so. Please do so. YouTube loves it. That bot that controls the algorithm absolutely loves it when you hit the like button. Paul Mashak says, I am from Tempe, Arizona. Is that how you pronounce that? I'm pronouncing it in Spanish, Tempe. So QImage 1, QImage Ultimate, Canon Pro 100. Finally switch over from precision colors, inks, along with modified cartridges. Thanks for the recommendation. That's a good subject to talk about before I go over to the 15,000. Let me go to the next one and come back to you. He also has an 8550. Richard Bender says there are several 995s for sale on eBay. What's the average? Because I'm not going to go and look right now. What's the average price? And by the way, just out of the blue, Nathan, my grandson, my only grandson. So that's why he gets, the best out of Grandpa. He says, Grandpa, do you have any antique cameras? And I went like, how antique do you want them to be? I got stuff from 1892 onward up to like the 60s and 70s even. Lots of old cameras. And he said, I said, so what do you want to do? What is it that you want? He said, I just want one. So I need to have him come over. I have like 40 cameras that he's going to have to look through. And that's really, okay, I got to stop what I'm saying. Holy mackerel, that's not bad. That's not bad. But what about batteries? Are they easily accessible? Yeah. So anyway, he says, yeah, I just want one. And I say, well, what do you want it for? Just to have it. And he has shelves and he puts stuff there. All his Japanese Gundam robotic figures that he makes. And he puts black wash on them. And yeah, he's really good at this. And he's got one for Christmas right here. So he's going to be building that one. They can go from $20 up to hundreds, and like that size. He's got a few of those too. Um, but anyway, yeah, good boy. I'm just so glad that he's really interested in a lot of things that most kids are just not, wouldn't even care to get into. So, all right. Tempe. Okay, Tempe. But it doesn't have double E. Tempe. It's probably Spanish from, the old Mexicans that lived there during the acquisition of Spain, of the Southwest. Fredbird, commercial, legal, aerial, all photographic restoration, working with Nikons. Okay, excellent. I'm going to get one. I'm going to buy me a Christmas present. Hell yes. Awesome. Thanks a lot, man. So let's go back to the Pro 100 right here. So you switch. Now, unlike, yeah, I get it. I get it. So unlike most of the time when you have a printer that can be refilled, or you can buy refillable type cartridges like some of the Epson printers, such as these right here. This would be the equivalent non-refillable OEM cartridge. These are brand new. I've never used them. Um, on older printers that have basically just died on me, um, you end up basically losing a little bit of your output quality. Um, Maybe your colors may not be as intense as you were getting from OEM, assuming you were doing everything correctly, proper ICC profile and such. Yeah, so you pay for that by paying so little for the ink. But when the Pro 100 came out, lots of people, meaning lots of sellers out there, somehow, I don't know where the ink was coming from at that time, but they were selling ink, and yeah, it was okay. And of course, everybody knew how to convert a Canon sponge card. Remove the ball, drill it out. There's a seat, and you have to enlarge that hole where the ball used to sit. It's a refilling ball that factory uses. Anyway, um, and then that would accept a plug. A nice tight fit, no leaks. So you then just add ink. It merges with the remaining ink in your sponge, and you print. And yeah, you did see slight changes, but you just live with it because now you're paying like a tenth of what the original cost of cartridges were, OEM that is. And back in the days of something like the 9000 Mark II, that printer didn't really have an amazing gamut as far as you know the gradual changes in a shade of, say, magenta, from a slightly orangey, then red, and then magenta-ish. You would not really get those graduated tonality changes. It was very difficult. And of course, you could make a custom profile, and that helped a little bit, but still, you could never ever get the quality you were getting from OEM. But you're happy because you're paying a tenth of the price. So Precision Colors at that time was busy making other inks, and I don't know whether he was actually doing a lot of like tweaking of his inks that he was selling, because he was getting them from a U.S. source here. Back in the day, it was what was it? Whatever, I forget the name. They're now in Florida. They merged with STS. Um, God. Anyway, I'll remember halfway through this. But anyway, so he had a connection with the technicians at the laboratory, the blending laboratory. And so he could actually have custom blends made for him. So he worked for a whole year back and forth with me. And what a pain in the neck that was, because I was refilling cartridges with this version and running them on my Pro 100, and then he come up with something different. I have to flush out that cartridge set and then dry it and then refill it with the new, and so on and so forth. And finally he arrives at the signature edition, which I then tested, and he told me, go ahead and give it a try. You should not see any difference. And I'm thinking, well, let's see if this is true. So I have two other printers in box, brand new still. I hope they're okay. Someday I would like to use them. And again, unused cartridges. So I popped a set of those, and I hated to do that, on my current Pro 100. And I did a cleaning cycle or two, then proceeded to print standard images, and then some of my own images that I was working with, stuff that I downloaded that had really strong colors and such. And then once I was done with that, I removed the cartridges, put clips on them, put them back in the box. I had used very little ink, thank God. And then I loaded the cartridges filled with Precision Color Signature Edition, couple of clean cycles, ran the standard images, the same prints that I originally ran for OEM, and I use his profiles. No, did I? No, I did not. I did not use the profiles. I used uh, Canon's OEM profiles, because the idea was to see. Now I remember, this was like 13, 14 years ago. And so I went ahead and ran on his inks using Canon's profiles. That's what I did. And uh, I saw some differences. I saw some supposedly improvements. And then I videotaped the whole shebang, and he watched the video and he said, wow, I think I overdid it maybe. But he said that laughing. And I said, what do you mean? Well, look at this and look at this and look at this and look at this. And then as I was really taking a close look at the results, I come to realize that, yeah, his inks truly, especially on the standard image, truly produce a better version. Now, at this point, Canon had been basically celebrating the Pro 100, which it was. It was a great, great printer that came after the 9000 Mark II. And so again, then my 9000 Mark II is sitting there with no print head, wasting away, because it's just no need to have, if even if I could find a printer for it, no need to revive it. Got a Pro 100 now. So he then says, I just noticed a photo that you have of a dancer, a ballerina, in front of a graffiti filled wall and gate. And, I don't know where this place was. I would love to go there. And she was wearing like a cyan gown that she was dancing with. And he says, I noticed a difference. So I am going to tweak my cyan ink, and I'm going to send you a bottle of that. So he does that. A month later, I get the ink. Now I cannot use the original PCSE 42SE cyan ink. I had to use, this is the full strength cyan ink, not the photo cyan. But I switched it, and again he saw the big difference, and he said, stick with it from now on. I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm just going to do away with my original batch and replace it with the new cyan. So he did things behind our backs to maximize the quality out of that ink. So Pete, no, who was it? Right here. Yeah, I got it in front of me. So Paul, you will be very happy with the results. Okay. And in this case, it is best to start with a completely flush set of cartridges. Now, be aware that, again, like 13 years, 12 years later, the Pro 200 came out. And the Pro 200, in the ad that I saw before it was actually released, they showed the standard image. And I went, oh my God. And then they showed the standard image printed with the new ink set for the Pro 200. And I said, that's exactly what I saw when I did my test. Okay. With OEM and then SE, signature edition ink. They duplicated the same output. I was getting the same output of a 200 on my 100 with Precision Colors inks. So Mike says, oh, now there's a 200. I got to redo. I'm going like, why? Why bother? You can't even reset those chips. Well, you can get around that today, but he did create an ink set for the 200, which he claims was as good as the 200 ink. So I'm telling him, wait a minute, is the 200 better than your 100 signature edition ink? He says a little bit. So he somehow did it again. And so these ink sets you can still get from precisioncolors.com. They're now in Chicago. Matt McNamara is the man who runs this company now. And you still can acquire those inks. If you live in the US, it'll be an easy purchase. You just pay. Do you even have to pay tax? Sometimes when you order through through e order internet, you don't pay tax. Like when I order from Amazon. So anyway, get them, try them, and you will not be sorry. And get your cartridges because he was right here, Rick Johnson. Okay. And as you know, I have a link. It's just a single link. I have a little paragraph and then a single link. You click on that link and it takes you to a website, which I think that's what it is, like an app. And then you go through the different links, different connections to different pages where I have affiliations with, and including my friend Rick. And he will set you straight, get you those pre-modified, completely flush, ready to go with clips. It'll come with this. It will not look like that. It will look like this. This is a yellow one. Okay. And use those. Don't mix them with the other set, the other OEM leftover. Start fresh because then you will see the difference immediately. If it was exactly the same output, then sure, you can just add into your previous cartridges. Say you modify them yourself. Okay. But yeah, it's really, I just had to spout on that because it really is a good set of inks. Now, it takes a really good pair of eyes and a good analytic brain to maybe see the differences. I actually saw them and I'm not that good. I'm not as good as Mike. Okay. I actually saw them and I thought, okay, there is some difference here. Maybe it's just because I'm using OEM profiles. Then again, I started using his profiles that he then developed and added for download on his site. And yeah, it was excellent. All right. He's got an 8550 also. Yeah. So I'm going to have to look at that, my friend. Pete Grobel says, or Grobel, um, excuse me, my pronunciation is horrible sometimes. Pro 1100 Canon OEM inks with Canon luster paper. I have an interesting database of ink usage, and it lasts very long. Yeah, the 1100 actually improved the way they run those preprint maintenance cycles, as they like to call them. Give you the assurance that you're going to get a perfect result and you're not going to be missing here and there because you got blocked nozzles that should have been cleaned. How long have you had it? I've only replaced 3 main inks: gray, color optimizer, and color chroma optimizer, and black. Which black? The 9 others will probably last a year. Printing every day, 7. Wow. Really? Wow, that's amazing. Okay. 22 by 17s. Excellent. Here's my friend Nick Marmolejo from Deer Valley, Arizona. Epson Stylus A Pro 3800. Piezography Pro Inks, Epson 15,000. Chipless, of course. PCSE inks for it. QMH Ultimate Lifetime ON1 Photo Raw Max Sony Alpha 6000. Pete says, Keith Cooper gave me an ICC profile for Pro Lustrum compared to the Canon. It was amazing. Yeah, he makes these amazing profiles. Yeah. I mean, he prints them on a huge sheet of paper because he's got the expensive. I could do that too, but I don't have a way to read them properly because I can only load on my little tray that the unit rides on. It only holds the letter size paper. MPM Photo, Wisner Technical 4x5, Schneider. I got my 4x5 Graflex camera that I'm going to show Nathan. I'm going to ask him if he wants this one. It weighs like 10 pounds. I don't think he's going to want that. Schneider 75 mm Super Angulon. That's very good. 120 Angulon Schneider convertible. Schneider lenses from Germany are the best. 210, 320. Wow. Holy cow. So I assume you develop your own and then scan and print, or do you still work in the darkroom? Captain Donzi from Cooler. Oh, I know who that is. Richmond, Virginia, Pro 100 with all the trimmings. Sony 877, 865 with many lenses. Pete says, the printer I purchased in March, and the photo black is the black. Okay, good. That's good news for, someone who might be considering an 1100. Is pretty thrifty with the ink. That's awesome. Good afternoon, where you are, from Washington State. Judy Ann. Yes, I didn't read your name. Welcome, my dear. Canon Pro 200. And my goal this week is to get some printing done. Yes, do that. Um, Again, I think the new versions of these printers, although the 100 is not really horrible when it comes to, say, you don't print for a week and then you begin to print something, and how long of a cleaning cycle does it go through? Because you ignored me for a week. I don't think it's as bad as the Pro 1000 used to be. And if you still own a Pro 1000, update to the latest driver, please do so. Whether you are, disabled your chips or not for refilling, update to that new driver because it will help things out. I know I got a couple of lights on. One on the left, I think it's a cyan, and it's just flashing on and off. So it's sort of I am at that borderline, and I got a chroma optimizer one that's flashing, that is on right now. So I got to top off those um, cards, and those lights will go out. But anyway, when I run something, and I just do it once a week, I really don't want to. I don't have anything big to print, so I'm not really printing on it. They're just here basically for use and answer questions and experiment on. So, if I was running a business and I was producing prints, I'd be going through ink like there's no tomorrow, and producing lots of money. But I don't do that. So I'm going to have to top those off. But anyway, when I do that, if I do run a nozzle check right now, it will run a preprint agitation cycle. You will hear a little piston back and forth, and that's just agitating the ink inside those compartments. And then it does a cleaning. Then it is the Pro 1000 and 1100 and all those other printers above them are so good that they can actually determine if a nozzle is clogged. It's amazing. So it will do a little cleaning cycle, and it'll begin to print my nozzle check. That's a lot better than it used to before, where it would take 5 minutes of cleaning cycles. You'd hear that pump working constantly. Yeah, so it's a lot better now than it used to be. Great printers, I tell you. I don't know what the Epson had to go with the EcoTank system, and now They actually addressed them as being photo printers before they did not do that. So I think they're finally realizing what a good quality you get out of an 8550. Oh, let's just now call it a photo printer because it was really meant for your office back in the day. Anything with a built-in scanner, it's really meant for office work. And yeah, you print your occasional photo print every once in a while. Okay, Pete says I bought it 4-year warranty for only 1350. That's good. That is awesome. Wow. Okay, 15,000. So when it first came out, it was going to be a total failure for us refillers because no chip resetting system. You couldn't do that anyway. And then come to realize that after, and Mike discovered this by dissecting one of the cartridges, the OEM cartridges. And they came in different capacities also, which is really crazy. It's really stupid. Just sell me the large capacity and give it to me at a reasonable price. Please, Epson, and then I will stick with OEM. If that's what you want from me, sell it to me at a reasonable price. The printer was about 350, 375 back then, which, is reasonable. It's not the $95 cheap Epson printer for wave you can get at a Walmart, and then you pay $23 per cartridge every 2 weeks. Yeah, uh, no, it wasn't like that. So everybody was excited about it. The quality of the output was good. Yes, it's meant for office. It's got a scanner, a duplexer, and all of that good stuff. So what did we do? We had to come up with a way. So in Europe, they did not lock the printer from the use of third party resources. So you could buy cartridges in Europe and use third party. So I bought a set of these refillable cartridges here, only to find out as I looked at them, and they have since left in the trash. I lost $60. Yeah, that expensive. And I look at them and I go, oh, good Lord, this has a sponge in it. What? Epson? Sponge? What the? Yeah, blink. And so I got inks from Mike. I got inks from some other source. I got to find those because my wife is not photo printing. So I need to find those inks so that I can use it to refill hers. I still have a little bit of the signature edition inks here. But, and I thought, wait a minute. So how can I fill this? How can an Epson printer use this sponge cartridge? And it was so horrible. The sponge, the size of the sponge, were detached from the internal wall of the printer. They didn't even fit well, that bad. So to the trash. And they didn't come with any chips. So how was I to use them? Well, technically, you install the chipless firmware. And when I say, or when they say chipless, they literally mean you don't even need chips to print. So that's why these refillable cartridges come without chips, because somehow the firmware says to the printer, hey, disregard, I'm going to tell you what each one of these positions is: magenta, yellow, red, and so on, gray and black. And so I thought, wait a minute. So can we refill these OEM cartridges? Let's take a good look at them. Flip them upside down. There's like a little nylon membrane at the bottom, not like these. It's not like the Canon cartridges for, say, like the, yeah, not like that at all. It actually protrudes out a little bit. It's got a little bulge, and you just flip it upside down, put it on a scale, and add drop by drop ink, and it gets absorbed I don't know whether I forgot what Mike told me years ago. Whether there is a bag inside or just an internal compartment with different channels. You know how Epson cartridges are, multiple mazes of little tunnels and stuff. So the ink goes in, and I keep tracks on the weight, and it reaches 26 grams. It's full. This is for the XL cartridges, the ones that have the larger capacity. Now the cartridges are exactly the same size. It's just that they partition the internal space to hold less if you buy the cheaper cartridge. Stupid. All right, so you just top it off, or you can actually just look at the sponge. If it starts getting wet and it's not draining, you overfilled it. So you just squeeze and blot it with some gauze or cotton ball, whatever, and then let go, and you will see that membrane sort of go dry. It is no longer wet, shiny looking, and you just pop it back in your printer. Now, if you go chipless, how do you know when to top off? And this is where I better do it this afternoon. So if you print a lot, every couple of weeks, just add enough ink to bring it back up to the 26-gram weight, or that look of wetness on the I'm going to call it a membrane, the output membrane, and just pop it back into the printer. The printer doesn't even read the chip any longer. It just knows that everything is full, so you got to keep filling it. And that's the same way with other chipless firmwares, like for my 800. So I just make sure that I have ink in my cartridges. I never really go dry. Um, if you're using a printer that still has, say, for instance, a continuous ink system, and you don't trust those chips, go chipless. They have chipless firmware for some of these, not all of them. Inkchip.net. I have a link on that little app. Okay. And so go there if you want to purchase the firmware. You'll be purchasing a serial code to activate it. And then it tells you where to download. Right there, you download the software, the installation software, as well as the actual firmware. Uh, uh, anyway, so I thought, well, what if I go empty by accident? And I would know that because all of a sudden I would not have yellow. Everything would be magenta cyan, and nothing could turn red because you need magenta and yellow to make red. So I would check, do a nozzle check, and boy, my yellow channel is gone. That means take my cartridge test. Oh my God, my cartridge weighs nothing. Too late. There is an internal little, it's like a valve, like some sort of mechanical system that pops open, and then that allows you to use like the last 3 mLs of ink. Okay, then the chip is declared empty after that. Once it triggers that, the printer knows how much ink is left, and so it will then calculate. And this was done just because people were complaining about throwing away ink when the chip said the cartridge was empty, and it's true. They were just doing this as a safety measure so you don't really run out of ink, and your printhead does not go dry all of a sudden. So you always had some ink in your cartridges. But now, after this class action suit took place years ago, they had to revise this, and so they built these cartridges with this internal little valve or whatever it was, that once it's triggered, it allows you to use those last 3 ml. The problem is you can never refill it back to 26 grams. You can only refill it back to like 20 grams. So you lose capacity. But you shouldn't let it go dry in the first place, is all I'm saying. So, and those of you who have 15,000s here in the US and you are refilling using the chipless firmware, just be very aware of that you cannot accidentally or on purpose let one cartridge go empty. You will lose that cartridge capacity. You would have to then buy a new one, and just don't worry about it. Just buy a new one, use it, and then after a couple of weeks, top it off. Usually, what I have to add is about 6 ml of ink per cartridge once I do the refilling. And I would assume that the XL possibly holds 14 to 15 ml of ink. So I'm only really using like a third of the capacity and then just topping everything off. But again, it's an excellent printer. Actually, Mike Lee says it's better than the 8550. And, if he says so, I tend to agree. Um, I don't know whether for everything it is better because the um, 8550 has matte black ink, and that comes really handy when it comes to printing with matte paper. And you will see that today when I print that photo from the 995 Nikon, 995 Nikon. Didn't that have a different name? Didn't it have a name that was very specific for that? The flip top lens system on it. I think it had a name. Um, yeah. Epson Perfection 3870 flatbed film scanning, printing to Stylus Pro 3800. So that's good. I found my negative holders, so I will be doing some scanning pretty soon coming up, and that should be a lot of fun. I love to do that. Yeah, the Cool Picks, that's what it was called. So thank you, man. I think you said that already, but anyway, you know me, in one ear and out the other. So thanks. I will definitely look at those. Gosh, I also was using my phone as scanning my cameras, that my antique cameras, and coming up with what people are asking. God, this hat, I hate this hat. I only have this hat on my military hat. So I was looking what people were asking for some of these models on Facebook, not Facebook, eBay, and I thought that they were sort of worthless. No, I have a little bit of money in this little collection of mine. So that's good. All right. We did the 15,000. Now the Pro 10 and the Pro 300. So let me get one of these. Pro 10. Canon 72 PM photo magenta. Okay. PGI 72. I think the Pro 300 is 65. PGI 65 maybe. Not sure. Or is it the C? Or is it the 200? What's the number for the 300? Tell me, guys. Okay, so to fill them, and these have an internal bag. The design was absolutely brand new from Canon printers. Um, Early Canon printers like these here. I have some ink here. I bought this for like $3 on eBay. I couldn't pass it up. It's just matte black, and I could use that on any of my printers. Um, It's just a container, just like the Pro 1000. It's just a container with ink inside. This has a bag. So this is semi pressurized. Whether it's positive, negative, I really am not sure, but there's a spring. This, you see that little circle right here, it says OEM. See that little circle? And see this plate behind it? That's attached to the bag. It's like an accordion. And it opens up. Right now, you can see that plate is against the side of the cartridge. If it was empty and still not expanded, in other words, if I was to use up half of the ink and I look at it, you would not be able to see that. It would be sort of inside. And the bag just basically squeezes all the ink out. And so, one thing that you have to be aware of if you buying empties, let's just say, because these are resettable. The 300 are not, but the one for the Pro 10 are resettable. So you go on eBay and you get some PGI, what is it? PGI 72, and buy a set of those empty. They're going to come without this clip. And if they come without that clip, they are empty and that bag is expanded. And when you attempt to dribble ink onto the sponge, see that port right there? The ink will not go in because the bag is already expanded. It's just full of air. And just a little droplet of ink trying to get in is not enough to force air to get out. So, in fact, there may be some dry ink kind of clogging up that membrane. So, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to be able to refill those cartridges you buy from eBay because they don't come with a clip. So you got to get these clips somehow. Does Rick have these clips? Rick, you have these clips? Or Rudy Hallamum makes this. Okay, it's just a 3D printer fits so well I can't even take it out. There you go. 3D printed little item. Just pop your cartridge. You bought it from eBay. The bag is expanded. Attach a syringe and suck, and it will suck that bag closed. Fill it. Or you can actually power fill it. Yeah. So again, it takes about 13 ml of ink to fill one of these. So I would just go ahead, load a 20 ml syringe, first of all, with ink and with like 11 ml of ink. Attach it, pull the plunger back, collapse the bag at that point. You see air coming up to your syringe, and then carefully inject the ink. Don't inject the air, just the ink. When you're done, remove it, and now you can dribble the last 2 or 3 ml until it weighs 32 grams this time. Okay, so that's the weight. So there are, fortunately for us, for these printers, there are ways to refill them. Now for the 300, because the cartridges are pretty much identical and both of them are opaque, you cannot see how much ink is in any of these. So you can only fill it or weigh it. So you would just go ahead and top them off, and then disable the chips on the 300. And all you have to do is wait until it gets empty, declare empty, and then it's going to give you an option. Hey, crazy person, you want to continue printing? And yeah, I do. Okay, it's your problem. You hit the pause button, and that will then go into a processing mode, and then the chip will be disabled. So it's different, a lot easier than for the Pro 1000 or the 1100. So once you disable that chip, it's just a chip. The chip is disabled. The printer does no longer recognize it as having any kind of ink levels. It just appears empty, but it still recognizes it as yellow, magenta, cyan, black, gray, whatever. So you're able to continue. Now, of course, especially on a Canon printer, you need to make sure that you top everything off every couple of weeks, whether it needs it or not. So again, what should you do? Get a set of cartridges. And I think Rick also has the 300s. The chips, again, remember, they're not resettable. So if you have two sets, you top off one set, they're all full. You no longer have to worry about resetting chips because you just disabled all of them, and put them on a holder like the ones that Rudy sells. Let me show you this. These are for the, I believe it's for the, right here. Yeah, this is for the Pro 10, Pro 300. And it looks like this. You just look at the names of the colors are there as well. And you just keep that set that is filled and completely disabled ready to be installed. The minute that you decide, let's say every 2 weeks, just remove all 10, put the clips on them, put them on the holder. You're going to get several holders when you order some of this. And that link is also on that little app. Okay. You will find it in every video description from now on. Okay. Actually, from a couple of weeks ago onward. So use that anyway. And you saw last week, I showed you guys how to do that. So save it as a thumb. What is it? What do you call the tab? Whatever on the internet, and then you can access it at will when you wish. Uh, so then you just go ahead and remove all 8, 10, put clips on them, put them on the rack, and put it aside. Take the full ones, pop them in the printer, close the lid. It'll run a purge cycle, of course, and you're set. Now the other 10, just whenever you want to, flip them upside down and then fill them up. At that point, you don't have to worry about having to use this to suck the bag because they have ink in them. And so that issue only occurs when you buy cartridges that are empty and were not stored with a clip. Okay. Top those off, put the clips on them, save them until the next replacement cycle. Whatever you decide works for you without, you know, losing ink on a cartridge. In other words, you gotta experiment. You gotta realize, what am I printing most often? How often do I print? What would be a good schedule for me to replace everything? And why you replace everything? Because that brings all the levels back up. When you replace a full set, you're replacing a full set. Okay. This is really the best way to go. Your internal waste ink pads will last forever. Mine on the Pro 100, 13, almost 14. What was it? August this year, 14 years old. And still, they were not declared full yet. So, only because I replaced all 8 cartridges at a time on the Pro 100. That's very, very important. Okay. Rick says that he does not have cartridges. So he does the CLI 42s, CLI 8s. CLI 8 looks like this. CLI 42 looks like this. Pretty much identical. Okay. And there is a trick to using the CLI 70, what is it? 65. So you're going to replace the chips, is all. You're going to replace these CLI 65 chip onto a CLI 42 equivalent color. So yellow chip on a yellow CLI or a Pro 100 CLI 65 cartridge, yellow. And then you disable that chip and you're good to go. Now you can see through the cartridge. Before, the CLI 65s are opaque. You can't see through them. So why use them? As far as Rick is concerned, are they useful? Are people buying those from you, the CLI 65s original cartridges? I think they just need the chips and the CLI 42 equivalent, right? Yeah. Yeah, they're rare. So I'm sure that they can be found. That's why I really take good care of mine. I do not throw any of those little orange clips away. Yeah. All righty. So that takes care of that. And again, it's just a matter of just do it correctly. Um, don't ever ignore it like I have been ignoring the upstairs one. So I may be, who knows, I may be at a point where I lost the ability to get it full. I will know that when I weigh each cartridge as I top it off. If I reach 25, almost 26 grams, and the membrane is getting a little bit too wet, then I know that I still have the full capacity of that cartridge. I don't think it's something super serious anyway, even if you lose that last 3 ml or whatever it is. All right. Drivers, and this is, oh gosh. So people with new computers, even Windows 11 or Mac, and they're just taking, because they just don't know. They just got a printer. It's a new adventure, and they are told that, hey, you just plug things in, they will self-install. No, don't. Printer drivers is a specific thing. Do not let something auto install by just plugging it in and letting the AI take over. You have a Canon printer, go to Canon dot, what is it, Canon USA, and then the I think you can just type in the printer, go to printers because they sell cameras as well. Printer model, and then resources or whatever, and look for the actual driver. And if you don't want all the other bloat that comes with this combo installers, just keep looking at the available software and just choose the driver and install that. And then once you double click it, installation begins. Your printer is on, but unplugged. Do not plug it to the computer yet. Wait until it tells you to plug it. Okay. And I don't know about Windows 11, how it handles that. The one upstairs, my wife's little computer, is a Windows 11. And I didn't have a long enough cable for her to use the XP 15,000 directly via USB. So I didn't do that. I cheated. I just did a automatic. I went to find printers in printers and drivers, and it found the 15,000, and I just told it to install it via Wi-Fi, which is what she's using. She's just printing text and stuff. Um, she gets a lot of PDFs from all her medical appointments, and we just print those out. So there's no need for her to have all of these photo-related um, um, things that a real driver would provide you. Okay, so, but yeah, Epson, the same thing. Go to Epson, go to Canon, download the actual driver, please. I know that Mac owners will tend to just plug things in because they love the automation. But no, in the case of a printer, you need the actual driver and not some generic driver like my wife has now. Okay. And yeah, I could print, letter size, two sides, single side, whatever. I can actually load photo paper and just do a very quick photo, just like I can with my phone on the 8550. It's all very basic. It's not related at all to the 8550 driver. So you're going to get some generic paper types, not the actual papers that the 8550 or the 15,000 is programmed for. No, that will not show up. Okay. So make sure you just get the real driver, please. Don't just, plug it in and let it go. Unless you either don't care or you're just using that printer for just common stuff. Then sure, then just set it for Wi-Fi if it's able to do that and just live with it. Okay. I often get questions that I don't see any of your options that you're showing me on the driver. I don't have any of that. Yeah, because you plugged it in. You just have an AirPrint driver for Mac or just some other generic for Windows 11. You need to actually install the driver. That's why Canon and Epson actually produce drivers for each OS, and especially with Mac, which updates their OSs pretty regularly. Unlike Windows 10 lasted for years. Um, but yeah, just go ahead and make sure you get the actual driver. Even Keith Cooper had a problem. He actually ended up with the AirPrint driver for one of his. I think it was the 1100. Yeah. So yeah, it can happen even to the best people. Now I had a question here because this is going to be related to the Pro 100. Because what I do is I scour all the questions that people post on my Facebook group and on comments on the videos. which is coming along okay. We'll be back maybe by February completely. So I hope. Anyway, Pro 100 users who are just now transitioning to PC42 SE. So as I said earlier, um, it is a transition. It will show up as a different output, a better output. Unlike the ink for the Pro 1000, because it's a totally different design, the 42, the PC 42 SE, CLI 42 cartridges, they write on the printhead. So there are no ink lines. There's no huge river from the cartridge to the printhead where previous ink still lives in. So you can imagine, I don't know how many milliliters of ink actually that is, but all of that ink would have to be used up before the new. So it would be like I have a line that feeds me Pepsi Cola. I love Pepsi. And somebody loads a tank of something else, another cola. And there's a difference in taste. I would not know that until that whole ink line gets used up. Pepsi line gets used up. Then I go, oh, what is this? You know. So the same thing happens with ink until it reaches the printhead. That's when you know the effects of that new ink set as they manifest themselves. So by then it's too late. And these printers, they're just not really made for you to be experimenting with ink. So when we were working on the development of that printer inkset, the Pro 1000, we were the only other option we had was to test everything on the Pro 10. And the same thing, we had the Pro 1 also, but the Pro 1 is the same issue. You have ink lines and stationary cartridges. You will not know the effects of that new inkset or the changes that you made on the blending of individual colors until it's too late. And if the results are negative, well, how are you going to fix that? You would have to install a set with, if you want to go back to the original quality of original inks, that's $700. So you can't really be experimenting too much. So the Pro 10 came into play because, again, just like the Pro 100, is cartridges are right on the printhead. You just have a lot of empty sets and you keep experimenting. Pop them in, cleaning cycle, close the lid. Close the lid, cleaning cycle. And now that ink set is now in the printhead because it has no way to travel. It's just immediately goes into the printhead. And so you see what those effects are of a particular different ink blend or whatever. So you immediately see that. So we were able to continuing the development, and then finally, when we arrive at something that was as good as the OEM version, and of course we also kept comparing to OEM. So we had sets of cartridges with OEM ink, and then sets of cartridges with blends, experimental blends. And he did measurements. Oh my God, he printed patches and measured them and so on, compared to, again, the same color patches with OEM. And finally arrived at a point where there was imperceptible difference. You could not really tell. So then he realized, hey, this is going to go seamless. Ding! Seamless transition. That became his little motto. And you will experience a seamless transition between your original leftover OEM inks and my new signature edition inks. And the same thing happened with, that Pro 100. Pro 100, it was instant. You could tell this is better. Pro 1000, you had to wait. So at least with the Pro 100, we immediately saw the changes, and they proved to be on the positive side. That's very hard to accept because you get so used to OEM results, and you accept that as, well, Canon didn't, screw me over. They gave me OEM inks, which are supposed to have been proven and reach a certain output standard. So I trust that. If I see something that looks more colorful, something that should be red actually looks red, like my back of the chair. Um, and before it was a little bit orange, but I sort of accepted it. And now the new inks actually give me a faithful, faithful recommend uh, reproduction of that color. Do I immediately accept that as being best or better? No. So it took a while for us to accept the results, and eventually just said, okay, this is better. And we had no clue that Canon was already working on the Pro 200, and they already saw the negative side of the Pro 100 original inkset. Because again, like I said earlier, what I saw, the differences was exactly what they showed on their pre-release ad. So it was very, very interesting. But anyway, I just marvel at the fact that Mike has been able to do this. Lucky for Matt who took over, because he is a seller. He is a business guy. So, and I'm hoping that translates to a modern style website, and so on. The formulations are already there. The only issues that I see is, what's the future? In other words, we were able to reach a certain family of printers, and there's new printers that have come out. And on the Canon side, yeah, we can refill the 1100. We can refill, as long as they allow you to fill those cartridges somehow. We can always disable those chips. I don't think they're ever going to get rid of that option. Um, so I don't know what inksets will be produced in the future. Are they going to be off the shelf type inksets? In other words, the lab companies are going to be producing inksets, whether you can refill or not. They're going to be producing inksets. There's always a way. So, are they going to be? In other words, the point I'm trying to make is that everybody who sells will be selling the same inkset under their label. And of course, everybody will brag that mine is better than the others. No, they're all the same, exactly the same. They came from the same batch. You're just selling them under your label and calling it better, but it's not. Okay, so in the case of Precision Colors, he was making them better. He was actually working, and I don't know how he pulled that off with the company. How much did that cost to do custom blending? It had to be more expensive. Okay, it had to be. So, what's the future of that? I really don't see much happening in the future, because Mike is not going to be doing that. By the way, at 8:35 this morning, he texted me via, or notified me via, what is that? Some chat thing. I installed it. And he said, "Oh, I'm checking in. We're going through customs right now." So he should be here already. That was early this morning. So tomorrow he's going to spend time with the family, and then Tuesday, after I bring my wife home from the dentist, she's got a cleaning appointment at 9, and it's right there, right next to the hotel actually, where they're staying. Then I will pop her back home, and then I will head on and meet up with Mike and his wife, and then I want to meet also the nephew and his wife, because he works at the Food and Drug Administration building here, and so did my old boss that I worked for like 25 years. So I want to know if he knows my boss, because he's also Chinese. And so again, and then we'll drive around, look at the sites, and maybe go out to lunch or early dinner or whatever. And then he'll be flying back, I think, Wednesday. So, and then for us, it's going to be couple of medical appointments. My wife has a endoscopy again the day before Thanksgiving, so Wednesday at 4:45 in the morning. We'll be at the hospital, and then she will be processed in and go through the endoscopy. They're going to probably do some biopsies, and she has um, endometriosis, whatever. Um, so they're going to check that out and see what can be done. So anyway, um, let's continue on. So let's see. Wasting cartridges. Oh yes. Hang on one second. All right. Well, some of them are installed right now. Printers like the P800 and the 900 have wasting cartridges whose chips can be reset because there are resetters available. This is one of the biggest scams printers come up with. I'm telling you the truth. And instead of having internal waste ink pads, which somebody that's going to perform the replacement is not an easy job. It's not like you open up a little door and pull out the diapers that are dirty. No, you have to remove the whole driver, the whole printer from the chassis, and they're on the bottom of that box, this outer box at the very bottom. Not this printer, but other similar printers, like the 1400. You have to remove the whole printer to get to those pads. I wish there was a way to open up like a little rear door, maybe whatever. No, they don't let you do that. So what happens now? They have waste ink cartridges. So what happens, instead of having that little spigot, there's a little tube that attaches to the purge pad, and the purge pad attaches to the bottom of the nozzle plate. Whenever a cleaning cycle takes place, it is applying vacuum. It's a very passive operation. Applies vacuum, sucks ink directly, not mechanically, but just using vacuum. And then it fills that little sponge. It'll be flooded with ink. And then the pump starts whirling around, and you hear that noise, and you think that's sucking ink. No, it's sucking ink from the pads through a tube, through the pump, and then it dumps it directly on top of the pads that are on the bottom of the floor, the basement of your printer. So printers nowadays, finally, Epson and Canon got it through their head that we need to stop using this method because these shops don't want to do the job. It's a pain in the, you know what, and dirty as can be, and too much work to replace a set of pads. And then you have to reset the counter back to zero, okay, because you're going to start all over. And that requires the repair person to connect to a server with some passwords, and that server will then act like a tool that will connect to your printer and reset the counter that lives inside your firmware or the chip of your printer. So that is now reset to zero. They put the new pads in already. Printers already put back together. Hopefully nothing went wrong, and it should work. So the way they're going to test it is to run a cleaning cycle and see if the counter goes up a little bit. Well, Thank God, pretty much all new printers now have a user replaceable uh, cartridge, and you do that yourself for the 8550, for the Canon 620, for the, I think even the Epson XP 4200 that I'm using for sublimation. All of those have user replaceable cartridges. The large format Epson cartridges, I mean Epson printers, also had user replaceable um, cartridges. So, but here's the thing: at least, well, and I'm going to tell you the awful truth about these right here. So, unlike these cartridges, this is a 3800. Someone here does a 3880 uses these cartridges. There's an internal bag inside. That bag holds, I'll tell you, 90 ml of ink. 90. This chip is calibrated to guess when 80 ml of ink has been used. In other words, have passed through the system. Ink lines, dampers, print hit. Whether it's, waste ink generated or actually creating prints. Once it realizes, okay, I think I used 80 ml, it's going to declare the chip empty. And so it does that to ensure that the printer never runs out of ink. Because when you take this out after it's declared empty and you toss it in the trash, like many people used to do, you're throwing away 10 up to 10 milliliters of ink. That's times 75, 80 cents per ml. Do the math. So, after a lifetime, you have thrown away hundreds of dollars worth of ink. So, what about the waste ink cartridges? For the ones for this very printer right here, the 3880, 3800, they're about this big. They have vertical little sponge type pads that absorb liquid water-based ink. And again, when the cleaning cycle process generates, you create vacuum, purge unit becomes flooded, ink is drawn out, it's directly dumped onto those pads. The ink will wick. Now, here's the catch. If you are an infrequent user, meaning that maybe every 3 weeks you're generating a little bit of waste ink, because the printer will run a little cleaning cycle after 3 weeks of no use. The ink that's already inside those pads have dried up, and so they don't allow the wicking action of a pad that's basically every other day receiving a little bit of waste ink, and it will do that. Um, so it tends to just concentrate on the center, and the edges will be white, and the counter keeps ticking, keeps adding generated waste, 100%. That's it. Your cartridge is now full. No, when you take it out, you can literally immediately see that the cartridge is not full. Okay. So you're throwing away, this costs you $23 for one of those cartridges for the 3880, 3800. And also the P800 uses exactly the same type of cartridge. So there are resetters available that allow you to reset those cartridges. The catch is this: on those three models that I just described, the 800, 3800, 3880, you cannot just reset the cartridge and pop it back in. Printers have a way of identifying the actual chip, and the chip is an entity that doesn't exist anywhere else. That chip has its own unique code, ID code. So it reads that code and accepts it as empty. You print, And after several months or a year, your cartridge is declared full. You take it out and you look, and it's not full. Look, only a third of the center has ink. The rest is pretty clean. I want to reuse it. I want to reuse it. So you reset the chip, you pop it back in, and it doesn't accept it. You go like, what the heck? It should accept it. No, it doesn't, because it sees it as the same chip ID number. Now, the good thing is that the printer only has a deep enough memory for one code. So what you need to do is have a second cartridge. Here's the catch. Whether it is reset or not, second cartridge. You pop it back in. The printer sees now a different chip. It erases the code of the previous chip. It only has a one code deep memory. So it erases that original code. It records the new code and it says, hey, this is also empty. Okay. Take it out, put the one you reset, pop it back in. It sees it as a different code because it erased any memory of it to allow the other one to be recorded in its one code deep memory. You see what I mean? So now it sees it as a new code, and yeah, it's full. That's it. I mean, it's empty. And you continue printing. Now, what if you want to replace the internal pass? You just pry the sides open, remove the little top cover. It's a grid. You can see right through it. And rip out the pads. You can buy new pads or fill it up with something absorbent that will absorb water-based products. Some people don't even put any pad in it. They just pop it back in. It might cause a splatter, so you don't want to do that. Put something absorbent. Shall I say, feminine products, pads, and they will absorb the ink. Reset the chip. Don't put that one in yet. Put a second cartridge in. It will then replace that code with the code of the new chip. Remember, one code deep. I keep erasing the original code and I keep recording a new code, but it sees it as a different code every time because it forgot about the previous one, you see. What's your name? Joe. Okay, I remember. What's your name? Mike. Oh, okay, I remember. Now I forgot about Joe. You see what I mean? So it does that. So that is the trick. Two cartridges, one simply to erase your previous code. If you're just refilling both of them, then say you're going to refill and reset both of them, more power to you. Okay. But, you don't really have to, because the pads are not going to be sopping wet with ink. No, that's not what happens. They are pretty dry, believe me. Yeah, if you touch it, you might get a little ink on you, but they're not going to be sopping wet. You're not going to overflow all over your work table where your printer sits with ink. Did anybody know this? Tell me, share that with me, whether you knew that trick or not. Now, the modern printers, and Rick is here with us. Rick has replacement pads. They're actually custom made to replace the pads on the XP 15000 upstairs and the 620. So, and possibly there are other pads available, but you need to buy a resetter, and with these it's a different process. It will accept the resetting of that same chip. So you can just reset that chip and just pop it back in. If you were to look at the actual cartridge, this cartridge is not full. Yeah, you're telling me it's full, that I need to replace it. It cost me $15. No, just reset the chip, put it back in, and then in a few months, check it again visually. You'll see. If you reach a point where, oh God, yeah, this is getting pretty nasty, then replace the pads. He sells the pads. He sells the resetters. He sells third-party actual cartridges for less than the originals as well. And so there are options now available. You no longer are going to have to throw away your Pro 100 just because the pads are full or declare that they are full. Now, for Epson printers like the 1400, you can reset those counters. Inkchip.net. I keep pushing inkchip.net for your um, chipless firmware and also for resetting the internal counters. And so if your printer happens to be listed, then yeah, it qualifies to be reset. Now, what you should do is to reroute, like I have done on my 1400, the waste ink generated to an outside bottle. Instead of that little tube going down to the pads, I just took it out. I drilled a hole in the side and I fed it to a bottle that I have taped on the side of the printer. And it goes right in there. And when I see this much ink, I throw it down the drain and I wash it with Clorox. It's biodegradable, so it's fine. And so, yeah, that's what I do. And I will never have to worry about my waste ink pads becoming more and more saturated because now I'm not saturating them anymore. I am collecting that ink externally. And when it comes time for me to reset those counters, I just use the WIC software from inkchip.net. So inkchip, one word, .net. Use my code ChiplessJoe and you get a 10% discount for anything, any serial numbers that you purchase from them. To reset the counters will cost you about $9.99 minus 10% if you use my code. And so that's how you are able to get a printer as old as a 1400 to continue working. I've had that for ages, like 20 years already. So it's crazy. I don't know, not 20 years, but close to that. Um, but yeah, maybe the Pro 10 is 14 years old. Yeah, maybe it is 20 years. So anyway, but regardless, you don't have to throw it away. They want you to throw it away. Parts of your printer have reached the end of their lives, they tell you. And you go, oh God, now what? And I call a shop. Oh, sorry, we don't do that. What? So, they'll tell you that your printer's old, get a new printer. Yeah. So that's what they do. So make sure that you are aware of that. With the 8550, I did an experiment and I was able to, I weighed the empty dry cartridge and then I weighed the one at like 75% full and it had gained like 10 ml. Now you have to be careful because ink is water based and water will evaporate. So say I dumped 15 ml of ink in there, it's not going to necessarily weigh 15 ml more. It's going to weigh less because some of that water has evaporated. But regardless, it weighed 10 ml more. So I loaded syringes with 10 ml of water and I injected them directly. And I kept touching the top of the pads for any ink to start showing on my finger. It took like 5 loads of extra water, like 50 full ml of water. Now you might say, oh, then I can get away with this, say 6 times. No, you can't. No, because the more water you have, the more ink you have in there, the more difficult it would be for the injection system that the printer uses to inject waste ink into that cartridge. Okay, remember that. That has to be injected. It's no longer dripping on pads. It's actually being injected. So I would say run it 3 times and then don't be stingy. Buy a new cartridge or buy a replacement from Rick or buy the pads from Rick. Buy a resetter and you can get away with using these basically to the max um, capabilities. In other words, you're not throwing them away after only 20% use or 30% use. And that's what happens unless you do what I recommend you do to reset those chips and just reuse them a couple of times, 2, 3 times, and then replace the pads, reset the chip again, pop it back in. You're good to go. I already did it. Um, remove the pads. I even washed the pads one time just to be crazy. Wash the pads, let them dry, put them back in, and that's it. Reset the chip, and I'm running again. Yeah. Uh, I don't think my actual cartridge will ever see the landfill. How about that? And I'm not a tree hugger, but I don't like throwing away stuff unnecessarily. And they're not going to recycle that. Come on, be serious. So, anyway, that is it for that. Any questions? Come on, folks. I don't want to talk you to death. We got 32 people here. I want to hear about you. I want to hear about your issues you might be encountering, whatever they may be. I want to hear about your good results, your bad results, questions, how to do this, how to do that. I tried this, but it caused this to happen. That's what I want to hear from you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and set this up for printing. Okay. But please go ahead and help me out here. So, as you may have known, I think I happily told everybody that I have two Pro Ones. One is sitting on a box, and I got stuff on top of it, and has not been on for God knows when. It had a weird issue with the printhead where I think one of the colors was showing 50% lighter, and all of a sudden it just turned to 50% nothing. And that's not a clog, that is an electronic failure. And somehow my nozzle checks, even though they showed that, my prints were perfect. And Mike Lee tried to explain it to me, and I was like, that makes no sense whatsoever. How can half that channel not be printing? And I think it was Mike Cheney who tried to explain that to me and not show. So apparently the printer compensates somehow. But anyway, then the other one, um, again, because I don't have any more chips for my cartridges, for the ones that I need to refill right now, um, I had to stop. And just at the perfect time where I turned it on and it did not give me a B200 error, and I was so ecstatic. But it ran a cleaning cycle, which this printer was awful for that. And all of a sudden, several of my cartridges required refilling, which I did. Then I realized I didn't have a couple of chips that I needed for the last three cartridges that I refilled. So I just need chips. I talked to Mike, I talked to Matt McNamara, and I don't know what. Mike, I hope he brought me some chips, let's just say. And I don't mean potato chips either. So we'll see. So at this point, yeah, I want to use my Pro One. It had three grays. It had dark gray, regular gray, and light gray. And it produced the most beautiful tonalities you could ever imagine. It's just the printer sucked. And the ink usage and system really sucked. It went through print heads like it was no tomorrow at $200 each. So back then, not anymore. They don't exist. There are no print heads for it. So that's why I want to take advantage of the fact that it seems to be okay. And I keep running nozzle checks to make sure. And I should do another one. Um, but yeah, so I want to get it back to life. And maybe by Tuesday when I see him, maybe he remembered to bring me some if he has any. Now Matt said that he's going to be having chips available again, but we don't know. We'll have to see. Pete says, how often should I do a head alignment color calibration? Um, for you have an 1100, right? So every 3 months, yeah. Especially you print a lot, yeah. Do the nozzle check, perfect, and do the head alignment, and then finally the color calibration, and just use like Pro Luster paper for it. It needs to know the paper, and it needs to know. So it could be any paper from Canon. So what it's doing it is saying, okay, you're feeding me ProLuster. I know what the output should be for ProLuster and my inks. This is a printer thinking. I know what the output should be for ProLuster and my inks. Go ahead and feed me. So it will print those patches, let them dry a little bit. The paper has not even ejected yet. It's all internally. Then it will read those patches and determine how accurate the output was, and then we'll determine if there were some slight errors, adjustments, so that the output is per factory um, calibration. So once it is calibrated for, say, ProLuster, it'll be calibrated for the other ones as well. Okay, it just needs to do one calibration. Do that every 2-3 months. I need to do it. I haven't done it for a long time. So I may all of a sudden see a great improvement on my output. Who knows? Barbara Harris, where do you get the orange clips for the Epson 2880? 2880? They don't have orange clips for the 2880. Only for the Canon. Only Canon printers have these. Okay. And these. There are, I don't know what you do, because there's really no need. There is a plunger inside. Okay. There's a, let me get an OEM one. There's a plunger inside. These are all OEM Epson type cartridges. So each one of these ports has a poppet valve, and it shuts off. So really, the internal ink is kept sealed. These, however, this is constantly exposed. So there is no poppet valve in Canon cartridges. So that's why you need the clip. But really, there are the Epson cartridges for the 2880. I have one of those. They just not really required, unless you're using. Let me see if maybe even not even this is a refillable cartridge. It is not even used. I haven't even punctured that port yet. You can see the film untampered. But say, for instance, this one here, and this has a little bit of ink in it. There's a poppet valve in there. And the ink that's left, this is officially empty. The ink that's left is still liquid. So it's fine. I don't think you need any clips. And I really don't know if there even any clips exist out there for it. Emmanuel from Rouen, France. Ikotan 550, Color Monkey Q1, QMH1, digital and field photo. Welcome. Don Pipe. Ooh, that's cute. 5039. Hello from London, Ontario. Canon Pro 100, Ikotan 550, QMH Ultimate LT. What is that? All right, so I assume everyone's having a wonderful time in this wonderful adventure of ours, printing photos. Let's go ahead and show you. I'm going to show you, and I think I already did it. Let me go ahead and lifetime. Sorry, got it. All right, let me open up QImage here. Let that baby load. Here we go. Let's pop that over there. I'm going to look for, I got some new images, by the way, that I generated the other day. Now this one here, let me see if I have it. Okay. This one here, let that load. So you can see I wanted to add some fireflies to it. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to close Q image because I got to do this first. I got to open up Photoshop. I want to open up the new one, the Photoshop beta. I'm going to add some fireflies to it. Wish me luck. We'll see whether that works. I want to show you what I just did. So my wife and I are working on a dollhouse that we bought years ago, and it's very, very similar to this. Okay, it looks, the structure is about that type of style. So we want to turn it into, we're Halloween all year round enthusiasts. We're going to turn this into a massive looking haunted mansion. And so I want something similar to this to give me an idea how to proceed. There you go. And it is 1/12 scale, so it's massive. It's about this wide by about that tall. So I, of course, you know what I did. I AI this. I'm going to go ahead and mount it a little bit later. But let's go ahead and open up YouTube here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and select it, Control A. I'm going to generate, and all I'm going to say is add fireflies to the background of this image. I hope that is clear enough. Let's see what we get. It's not doing anything. I swear, every time I do this, it's just a different adventure. Okay, there it is. It sort of disappeared, the contextual bar. And if I like the way that looks, there you go. That's a little bit too much, but I like it. It's fine. I just wanted to see what the generation was going to be like. So, okie doke. I'm just going to flatten it. And I'm going to save it as and I'm going to just add fireflies. Like that. And that's what I'm going to keep. So that's going to be one of my images for next year. So now let's go back to Q image. I'm going to show you what that Coolpix 995 could do. And I'm going to open it up in Q image simply because I want you guys to see the original resolution of this image. And we're going to print it. So we're going to divide the resolution by, say, 360. No, it's 300 and, is it 360? Yeah, 360 ppi, pixels per inch. Epson demands that, of course, and see what size we should really be printing this to, okay? Because quite often we end up overdoing it. In other words, we're going to uprest the hell out of an image, and yeah, not really the proper way to go here. But QImage is magical, so I'm going to go ahead. There it is. Here it is right here. So I'm going to load it, and I'm not going to crop. I mean, I'm going to crop everything to fit. So I don't know what the actual format is, but I'm going to crop it and make it fit maximum. So, or we can just put a slightly wider border. Let me go ahead and do that. So we're just not a half inch, but maybe quarter inch, like that. Okay, make sure we only have one loaded. Now, let's double click. I'm going to pop this over there. This is the full frame editor. And here's the resolution, folks. It's 1764 by 1268. So if you were to divide this, let's just do 300, what Canon uses. That would be 4 inches, right? Yeah, 4 inches by maybe just over 5, maybe 5.5. Okay, but yeah, we're going to go ahead and print it a lot larger than that. So we're going to cheat like there's no tomorrow here. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to just sharpen it. Look at how small it looks. Yeah. So 1 by my normal 125. Okay. There we go. Done. Done. Nothing else. I'm not doing any contrast or saturation adjustments. Nothing of the sort. 8550 presentation paper matte, and I'm going to let the driver control color. Wait a minute. Let the driver control color. So we're going to just use, this is actually Staples matte paper, Pro matte paper. Let the driver control color with the profile for the presentation paper matte. So once you do that, the printer driver will be set to the correct mode. If you want to check, in case you don't trust it, ICM. And ready and print. We're looking for pixelation, okay? Because we're going to exceed the size this should really be printed to, according to the pixel vertical and horizontal resolution. While that is printing, let's just quickly do this. This is going to go on my little stairwell gallery here. So I'm going to take everything out. I'm going to pop the print and just put everything back in. Couldn't ask for anything simpler. And if I ever want to just switch the images, I can just easily do that. Today I should get a relatively large packet from Amazon. I ordered some more frames and other little goodies. And there we go. And there that goes. So that looks pretty nice. Maybe a black frame would have been better, but I'll live with this. You can buy those as well. That came out great. I really like these wooden frames. They're really nice. And of course, I got to write the name. It's going to be Who Said Ghosts Couldn't Be Swingers? Yeah. Look at that. Whatever that is. It's a little bat. Another little bat flying here. Love it. This is the best rendition that it created. Oh, you know what? Did I even have paper on here? I did not. Silly me. Let's go ahead and begin again. There we go. All right, let's review what we've done last week. So we made this card and we use QImage to also create an internal little writing area where you can write a message. Then this one here, we made in, I believe it was Photoshop, maybe, using a template. I already have a template saved. In other words, not a template, but a layout. I'll show you what that looks like. So right here is my layout. So say I remove this. And I load this. It's going to load that layout onto that size paper. But that is not what we want it to be. And I don't want a border. So let's just remove that. So let's remove everything. So now the border is gone. So I'm going to go back and choose the custom size, which is 6.25 by 9, like so. And then if we load this, it should load. Yeah, there we go. So I can take this. Let's see, 6.25. Oh, this is wrong. No, it's okay. Huh. I think I got the size wrong. Yeah. But anyway, there you go. It is ready to print at the bottom. I got my size wrong. So, but anyway, so that's yet another way that you can print. Let me remove this. I think that's done printing. Good Lord, that was quick. User defined 6.25 by 9. Because normally, say I would load. How did we do this last time? I forgot. Anyway, we'll play with this next time. Too many things going on. So this is done. Let's take a quick look at it. And it's amazing what a 3.2 or 3 megapixel image looked like back then. And yes, I could see the pixels. But look at it. It looks fantastic. Isn't that the coolest? Wow. Yeah, I mean, sure, it's not going to compare to, 20, 30, 40, 50 megapixel results. But this is what it was like back then. And the way, in order for you to be able to produce something like this was unheard of before. Unheard of. And the fact that you can even dream of doing something like this was just, again, mind blowing. Yeah. That's pretty neat. That is pretty neat. Okay. I want to show you guys. I think you guys saw this. So I've been playing around. This was the original, supposedly fixed image. This picture was horrible. It was about that big. I scanned it. I tried to fix it. Look at my grandma. This is my dad. This is my mom. This is my mom's mom. And I'll get to her in a second here. The young boy right here is my uncle David. This is my aunt Kay. This lady right here, my grandma, had 9 children. This lady right here is who she called grandma, but it was the wife of her. She was number 15. That's my grandma was number 15, the youngest of 15. And the lady next to her is the wife of her second brother above her. So number 12, number no, number 13. So number 13 married that lady. That lady is a pure Taino Indian. Okay. And she's the one that my grandma, her name was Sofia. So Abuela Sofia called her mom, literally. Her mother was some kind of her true mother was some kind of aristocratic woman who just gave birth to babies like it was no tomorrow and didn't really have time for them, as you can imagine, with 15. Better than Cheaper by the Dozen, the movie. So this is me. This is my sister. Okay. And luckily, my mom and dad only had 2 kids. They didn't follow the example of her mother. Okay. And her grandmother. This is what I made last week. And it could be a little bit darker. I'm going to print it again and I'm going to make it a little bit denser. But you can see my grandma's face. See right there? Look at that. I don't know what that blotchiness is, but AI fixed it. You can even see my mom's watch, where there's no way in hell you can see it there. But anyway, I had a lot of fun doing that. Now, this was the scan of a shot when I think I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, maybe 7. Um, we always lived in properties that my uncle owned. My uncle owned who married my father's oldest sister. They were 4 kids in that family. And she married a businessman who was pretty wealthy. So we always lived in his properties. This is an apartment building where they had his business as well there. And then on the other side is my wife's father of German descent in Milwaukee. And that one I fixed a little bit, but it wasn't, I wouldn't call it totally fixed. Now this has lots of wrinkles and, off color. And really my dad had an issue with his right eye, was always cross-eyed a little bit. Um, so I used AI and was able to do this to her father. And this looks pretty realistic as far as the results. I would say, early color film, but no, it's AI. So not too bad. And this is what I would recommend people use AI for. Stop creating fake stuff that then you post online as being true. No. Create things, but tell everybody that they are AI. Create art, create scenery, create this, create that. Fix photographs. Um, Here you go. My dad's eye has been surgically fixed. Sure, now it's not really my dad, but if had you never met my dad, you would never have any doubt. Okay, and that's my beautiful mother. Okay, so my dad is from Gallego heritage in Spain, Galicia, northwest Spain. But then I also got my DNA update, and I was a little bit shocked. Now I have over 24 different locations where I have possible DNA from. Um, I used to have about 30% from Spain, but now it sort of shifted. Apparently, the migration of people from Spain went through the Azores. So I have something like 15% Azore blood now. And then a smaller portion is from Spain and little bits from everywhere, including Quebec, which I assume is my grandma Sophia's husband, who was a white guy. He was not Spanish, but he had some also. So the immense immigration that took place, and they all went through Puerto Rico for some reason, uh, contributes to my 24 plus um, geographic zones where I have DNA from, including Jewish. I mean, Sephardic Jews, whatever that means. Yeah, all kinds of Eastern European. Everybody went through Spain. Everybody went through the Azores, including Africa, and that crazy. But anyway, I was really shocked when I saw that. But anyway, as you can see, it really does look good. Now, I think I should go ahead and print that new version on the 8550. What do you guys think? With that fireflies all over the place. So let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and finish with that. I'm going to save that. I was going to sublimate something, but I'm going to pass. So this is a ghostly powwow. We're going to print it now. Some fireflies. Yesterday, I went with my wife to our miniature club. Took my saw, my very super duper accurate machining type saw, and I built some frames there at the meeting. Everybody loved it. I organized a bunch of things. I sort of figured out how much possible income I had, and it was a little bit astronomical. So, and I have a lot more to do. So we'll see. It'll either be a success or a failure. Who knows? That's coming up next October anyway. So nothing to worry about right now. So let's go ahead and open up QImage. And I'm going to get my thank you ready here. Because after this, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to check to see if Mike Lee has contacted me. Because I know he's already here. Okay, hang on. We got some questions. Oh, yeah, I have another one that I also created that I like. And the reason I did that was because we were at Michael's just browsing, and they're getting rid of all their Halloween stuff. And some of them were prints and not like mine, not as good. And I thought, let me tell AI to generate something for me. And I didn't want a castle. I wanted a like a Victorian type old decrepit mansion, and it generated a couple of those. This was the best one of all, so that's the one I'm going to keep. Pete says Keith Cooper has a new video. Yeah, on your idea of a A2 Epson and Canon EcoTank printer. Not happening. He did mention that you shouldn't use the 8550 to sell prints high production. Do you agree? Well, yes and no, and I'll explain why. And let me see. I'm thinking about it. I just turned 52 and want to make some income, so I cannot work. Okay, here's the thing. Use good paper. Spend your money on paper. It makes a huge difference. The I think it was either Ardenberg or another company that does print longevity testing, and the 8550 did extremely well from like 20 something years just on common Epson paper to no limit, framed on good paper, meaning like a burrito paper, acid free, no OBAs, and framed under UV glass, indefinite. Indefinite. So I wouldn't be too feel too guilty about selling. You can tell them. You can tell them that this was done on one of the new, you know, blah 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 EcoTank photo printers. If you want to tell them that, fine. Just say that it was printed on the, for example, 5-color dye, and if you use Velvet Fine Art mode on most matte papers, it will use both blacks. Give you the results that I'm showing you here. This is how that was printed. Okay. This is not going to fade. I'll be gone. My kids will be gone. My kids are in their mid 40s and 50s. They'll be gone. This will not fade. Hang on. This is a shot, Great Falls, Virginia. This is not going to fade. I don't care if it's 100 years from now. Okay. This was printed. I think it was printed on one of my more modern printers, but this one here, let me fix this. I need to pop the little, there we go. The little locks, they're just little thin pieces of metal. This is Nathan. Nathan is 13. So he must have been 4 or 5 years old. So 9 years ago. And he hasn't faded one iota. And of course, I printed it on good paper. This is a burrito paper. And I think I did this maybe on one of my refilled printers. I forget which one. But I don't see any of this ever fading. So if you're guilty about selling 8550 prints, yeah, I wouldn't do so if I was, say, using a Pro 100 with like Chinese inks. No, that would not be good. That would not be good. Because in order to get good results, you'll be printing on glossy paper, which is usually resin coated and has OBAs, and that contributes to fading. So I would not do that. But 8550 on fine paper, yeah, no issues at all. And then you spray it with a protectant, and then you frame it on the glass. Although I did not frame these under glass because I prefer to see the texture. This has not been sprayed yet, so this will add a little bit more density to it. I am not at all feel guilty about that, so I would not have any issues whatsoever. So let's go ahead and do the user defined. Let me pop over there, and we need a 9 by 12, 9 by 12. I know what I did wrong with the other one. I know I did something totally wrong. All right, so now click, and then we're going to find the one that I just added, the little fireflies, and it's got to be this one here. Is it this one? I thought yeah, it's got to be this one. There we go. Let me take a look at it. We'll do an exposure adjustment. Yeah, that's the one. And then sharpening 125. And okay. I see some more comments here. We'll come back to that in a second, okay? So let me go ahead and add my border. In this case, we did 3/4 inch. So 0.75. And boom. And do I need? No, I don't need a stroke. The edges are already dark enough. And then we're going to make sure that we are using presentation paper matte board. I want to use the velvet fine art. So I'm just gonna simply type velvet and look for velvet fine art 8550. Right there on top. You cannot beat the AI that this offers. And print. Now, this has actually been printing okay. It has needed a little bit help, but not too much. So let that. Did I actually send it? Man. There we go. It's finally loading. It's taking a little bit extra time. Okay, now let me make sure I got to catch it just before it starts to load. Yeah, I would have to do a nozzle check. So I will do that after I finish this, and that'll give us the count. Somebody asked about that. Because he says that the shouldn't use it for selling. Well, or for high production as well. Yeah, it's only, it's not considered a professional printer. No. I will do that. I will try to do that as soon as I finish here. I've not used Photoshop AI to colorize or monochrome scans. Are you happy with the quality compared to doing it by hand? I'm doing it through the beta version. Okay, I'm using nano banana mode. Uh, it didn't work this time. Let me push it a little bit better. Curl it a little bit. This is such a stiff paper. There we go. Let that baby print. No, of course not. You cannot, compare the two. You really cannot. That would not be a very fair comparison. Um, think about it. If you can find a Pro 1000 for like $1,000 and a brand new 8550 is supposed to be something um, like $800, unless you find it on sale. You know, Pro 1000 obviously is going to be the printer you would want to use for production work and for selling. But I'm just telling you what the results were. I'm not arguing um, with anyone. So that is adorable. Okay. Make sure we got a match color wise. Yeah. I know what I did. I increased saturation on this one. Notice the fire area? Yeah, I know that I added some saturation. Yeah, and definitely contrast as well. But anyway, this is cool. And this has been sprayed, I think. So I like that look. Yeah, too many fireflies. Anyway, it was a good try. Let's talk about this. If you're going to sell the Pro 1000 or 1100, the best option. Yeah, for volume and output. Yeah, definitely. Well, think about it. Um, the quality almost imperceptible, uh, depending on what you print on. And I can show you. People ask me all the time here, "Hey, why don't you print that on the Pro 1000 and then show me?" And I do. And when we put up both of them, they're really not that much of a difference. It's not night and day. It's not like, oh my God, of course this is the Pro 1000. I can guess with my eyes closed. No, it's really not. There are some nuances that the Pro 1000 introduce, and the image has to demand that. So it depends on the image. It depends on many other factors when you will see the difference between the Pro 1000 and yeah, so it's not that simple. um okay, when I saw, well, I thought you said sell, and I was gonna, whoa, Rick, I never knew that. No, but anyway, let's do a nozzle check. let me get Let me get some paper. Oh, here's one right here that I just recently did. 1,479. That's all. And total pages 1,576. This number right here. And borderless, just a few, 34. So yeah, my 8550 is barely being used. All right. So I think that's going to be it, folks. Let me see. Paper handling, yeah, it's not the best in the world. Of course. Yeah. The paper handling is the big difference between the Pro 1100 and the, or 100 can be beat. Yeah. You're talking about a tank compared to, I don't know what would be a good name for the 8550. They just do not have fantastic paper handling. Papers do tend to jam depending on the thickness, the stiffness. It's not like the Pro 1000 that can pretty much handle anything, as well as straight feed from the front. All right. Anything else, folks, that you guys would love for me to maybe talk about? I'm open to anything here. So I'm going to load the next slideshow, but you guys can just go ahead and share with me whatever you wish. And I'm going to load this one here. So let me see. Got one more. I'm wondering what there is to fail since the printhead is cold, firing, and it has replaceable main tanks. Yeah. I don't know. Really. Right now, I do have an issue with 13-inch wide. It just rejects it. Now I can run 12 by 18, no issues at all. But 13 by 19, I don't know what the issue is. So I don't print. If I want 13 by 19, I'll just go to my Pro 1000 and print it there. So it could be something, a rare issue with mine. I don't hear any other person having that issue. So it must be just my own one. But other than that, hell, I'm super satisfied with it. I highly recommend it for anyone who's just printing for fun and you want to print for pennies. Yeah, I know what you mean. Maintenance tanks. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. It's done well with just about everything. Want to do cards? Yeah, it'll do cards. Want to do prints? You want to print on ridiculously thick paper like that stuff I'm using? And it just needs a little help. That's all. Yeah, just maintain it. Open up the top. Look at your plate in the front. This is the metal plate that has little rollers on it, and see if that's dirty. Just use your finger and look at it. When you're printing borderless, that's going to generate or aerosolize ink, and it can land like a little cloud on the surfaces, and you will see that. Wipe it every couple of months. Open it up and just use a paper towel, some Windex, carefully. Don't go crazy, and just wipe the inside and check the rollers and make sure they're okay. Yeah, that's all you really have to do. I had one instance where I had a couple of nozzles on the black, I believe it was. Cleaning cycle, boom, it was fixed. In fact, I was demonstrating where you should run a cleaning cycle. Then all of a sudden, oh, I have some lines missing. Ooh. So with an Epson, if it's just two little bars, just run a Q image unclog tool image. Just run it and then check the nozzle check again, and you may end up clearing it on its own. You can print even with a couple nozzles missing. It's not going to harm it. It's a cold firing print head. It's not like a Canon print head. Yeah, exactly. Like right now, um, my 1400, which has 13-inch capacity, is the black. I just cannot unclog it, and it's showing banding on any image that I try to print that uses a lot of black, because black is only used when it needs to accent a certain deep shade. If the if the image has very little pure black areas, this is where I try to go 5% above black so that I minimize the amount of black that has to be used. I have banding, so I really cannot use that for something like the ghost image, which is mostly dark tones. Uh, so I'm thinking of an 8550 for just sublimation, and dedicated to that. And my Pro 100, yeah, I could put a new. I have printheads for it. I'm not gonna sell them, okay, because they're precious. I have printheads for it. I'm gonna go ahead and set one up. And if the waste ink pads go bad soon, then fine, I'll replace it with one of the ones in my boxes. I have two new ones. Um, and then I can use this for regular photography, and then the new 8550 strictly for sublimation. And at that point, I can just get rid of my 4200. I will not need that anymore. I'll just give it away to someone who wants to start sublimating. It's running on chipless right now, and all you need to do is fill up a set of cartridges, and then when you look at your cartridges every once in a while when one is low, remove all six of them and load it with the other six and proceed. You need to run a nozzle check and make sure that you're good to go and continue printing. But yeah, the 8550 is a perfect printer for that sort of thing. Um, Believe it or not, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to see the difference. I don't know how it does it, but it does it. The XP 15000 has red, and this is why Mike Lee says it's better than the 8550. And he may have a point there. But I really, running standard images with both printers, and then doing a comparison visually, properly made ICC profiles for both for that particular paper, and really there's not much difference. It's really weird. But yeah, there's going to be a gap between, once you start getting close, orange, red, redder, pure red, and then magenta-ish red. At some point, you need red. Okay, that's why the Pro 1000, of course, it excels with that. The same thing with the blue ink. So you cannot reproduce a blue with just cyan and magenta. Okay, you just cannot. Yeah, it depends on the photographs. In fact, why not? Let me see what I got. Do I have any more matte paper here? No. Oh, hang on. Now, there's no way that I can perfectly do this. The one that I just printed of the shot from the Coolpix. Let me take a look at that. And then I'm going to go ahead, this one here. And then I'm going to have to send that to the Pro 1000. But I'm just going to use Canon's Pro Matte profile. Okay. We're going to probably get a slightly different color rendition, but overall, I just want to see what the quality difference will be. Now, there is a problem where Canon tends to use photo black ink when you just choose a common matte paper. If you choose an art type matte paper, then it will demand you that you feed it through the rear feeder, the manual feeder. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can get away with just using normal matte paper, photo matte. So letter size, and what did we use before? Fit to page. And, oh, sorry. You can't see what I'm doing here. There it is right there. And I think I had some already some slight adjustments for sharpening and such. So this will be a Photo Professional Premium Matte. And let's see if I need to do, yeah, manual feed. Okay, so I'm going to have to switch that to regular photo matte photo paper. And then it switches automatically. You saw the ICC profile switch automatically. I want it to fit to page. Ah, wait a minute. I had a 1/4-inch border. I forgot. Okay. Like so. Got to get rid of the previous two jobs. That one, we don't want that one. Okay. And that should be it. So we're working with the profile for matte. And go. Now, like I said, I haven't printed on it for a couple of days, actually a week. So it's going to take a while to do its pre-flight check. I want you to see what it shows you. These are my ink levels. You see that? Nothing. That's because it's running chipless. You see that? That's what you will see. So right now it's doing that pre-flight check, like I said. And it's doing the agitation. Da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. It's got to be a little piston or something inside. I think the fact that Richard Bender uses 8550 is another testament to his quality. Not only that, but he sells his prints, and he's used a very good paper, and he is fully, let's just say, no worries about fading. I guarantee you. I don't know where that came out of, but again, the test that I saw being published more than confirmed that. Even the Pro 1000, if you print on ProLuster, for instance, and you use Ardenberg's method is to use megalux of light. How many megalux of light does a cause a fading to begin. And it could be certain colors only, certain combinations of inks that begin to fade. Um, and it will be like 12 megalux. That's a lot. And then if you just switch over to, say, Palo Duro etching from Red River, it's just sky high the number of megalux you need to see any fading. Not see, but record with a spectrophotometer. It's just like quintuples the amount. So it's the paper. Choose good paper, no OBAs, acid free, um, preferably, Barita, and you will triple, quadruple the lifespan of your prints. Yeah. Even on a Pro 100 with Precision Colors dye ink. Okay. You get excellent output, but lifespan compared to the OEM ink, yeah, you cannot compete with that. Okay. That's where you fall on your face. Of course, I would use an 1100 if money was no issue. And you can print 17 by whatever. Yeah. Are you happy with either printer? Output dye and pigment inks are different things with a different look. Their look is different, especially when you get away from matte. So matte here, matte over there, not much of a difference when you look at it. Matte, I mean glossy over here, glossy over there. Oh, this wins. Absolutely wins. Unless you have an image with a lot of purples, blues, really brilliant violets, no, then that printer will win because of its blue ink. You cannot generate an accurate blue using, CMYK only. No, you cannot. Gosh, that's already printing, and it's been a week. Yeah, that would be if you can afford it, sure, absolutely. Get both. Yeah. And that by itself also adds huge amount of longevity, especially if you're using just fiber-based papers and you also spray the back. You want to seal top and bottom surfaces. Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, let's see. Okay, so now it's doing the so-called nozzle check. And I don't mean a nozzle check printed. I mean individual nozzle check. And I can disable that if I want to, but no, I don't want to do that. I want to let it do its thing. It's not wasting any ink. It's actually literally testing each nozzle. And it sprays like a couple of, what is it, picoliters of ink per nozzle, just to make sure that it is spraying. And you hear, didn't. So let that print, and as soon as it begin printing, I will know, and I will go ahead and take a look at it, and we'll compare the two. We'll see. Now you're going to see a difference. Always see a difference with reds, accuracy of red reproduction, and I get deep blues and purples. Okay. I gotta notice. It spit out the paper, and I gotta notice here. Oh, okay. It's telling me that there's a discrepancy in the width of the paper, so I probably screwed up over here. Let me make sure. Yeah, I sure did. I sure did. No biggie. No surprise. Okay. So it's ready to print actually. So fit to page and boom. And send it. Let me load the paper back up. It should begin to print straight away once we reach a full load. All right, it's loading. I have another cartridge that needs topping off. Those sensors are great. So just now another light came on. So now I know that I need to replace or refill two of them. And that's great. All righty. Let me close Q image. So yeah, if you can get both, by all means. Remember that the 1100, I think it has some, well, not only different profiles, slightly modified ink set, deeper Dmax on the matte black. I've been tricking my Pro 1000 by using 1100 profiles. As long as I'm using their papers. So I have the 1100 profiles for Canon papers, and I can also download 1100 profiles from Red River and use them as well. So it gives you all that freedom to be able to at least simulate what the 1100 can produce. For some reason, it's able to do it. I don't know how, but I do see a slight difference between the two profiles being used. It's printing. Okay. All right. So again, different profiles, obviously. One is for Canon, and one is for Epson's. And the paper is neither Canon or Epson. Bottom one is Pro 1000, top one is 8550. And immediately I see the issue that the Canon pigment printers have, where they do not use matte black when it comes to the common matte paper. If I had used the higher end and then feed it through the back, which is a pain, that's why I didn't do it this time. I get this result. This is using matte black. See, the Epson 8550 uses black matte paper when you print on regular matte paper. That matte black ink, I should say. And so you can see this is, not as contrasty as the one on the 8550. So there is a notice. Again, it probably thinks that I need that I'm going to print another job here. No. Paper has run out. Yeah, it canceled printing. So I must have clicked that twice. So the difference is there. You can see it. Now, had I printed this on Canon matte black paper, I probably would have gotten a better result. And of course, also feed it through the rear feeder so I activate matte black ink. It's screwy. That's the only thing that I have against Canon. Is why do they do this? It just, no one has ever been able to explain it to me. I mean, look at the differences. In this case, unfortunately, it's night and day. The bottom one is 8550. The top one is Pro 1000. Pro 10 has the same issue. It will not trigger matte black ink unless you pick fine art paper. Then you have to feed it to the back. And then in some cases, you have a border you have to deal with, a leading and trailing edge border that it immediately activates. Okay. I hope that didn't disillusion people out there. But that is the issue with the Pro 1000 and any Canon printer that uses matte black ink. It needs to use a fine art matte black or one of the higher quality matte blacks, as you saw. I originally had it and they wanted me to feed it through the rear feeder. And right now, the way that I have things situated, it's very difficult for me to feed through the rear feeder. And that would have fixed it. That would have produced the deeper same. But really, color-wise, yeah, depends on the image. That image didn't have any reds. That image didn't have any deep purples that you would need blue ink and red ink to be able to tackle. So it's all about the image. Yeah, well, I have not regretted it. And you would go nuts if I told you what I paid for it. $600 brand new. Must have fallen off the back of a truck. On eBay, it was an auction. They apparently had several and they auctioned them off one by one. And I missed the first two and I nailed the third one for $650 shipping. All right. I think that's going to be it. I'm getting a headache. I got to go upstairs. Must be the lighting here in front of me. So that's going to be it, folks. Let me load up the next slideshow. And it should appear there. And you know which one that is. It's me. My life, as I call it. And I know that my friend Harold loves it. So again, thank you so much. I will continue uploading videos every day, 5:30 and 7:30. And then on the weekends, I do a old live stream, upload one of the previous live streams. I used to do this on Saturday nights. I used to do this also on Fridays. And then I finally landed at 12 noon Eastern time um, for the current modern live streams. But again, I really do appreciate if you subscribe if you haven't done so. Give the videos, go back and watch some of the videos that I've already uploaded just to bring the view count up so that I reach that point faster. Um, Tell people who are doing this to join our channel and become a subscriber. That way we can continue to grow as well as get back to the point where we can be monetized so I can then buy things to show you before you spend money on it. Let me do the guinea pig work. I will buy it, use it, demonstrate it, approve it, disapprove it, recommend it, not recommend it. You know what I mean. Before you go and spend your hard-earned money. Um, Once we get established in YouTube, it's just, I wouldn't say easy money, but it's regular money that comes through. All right, so that is going to be it for now. Let me see. Uh, yeah, we are definitely. Tell Mike Lee we miss him and want him to come. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to tell him to come on the minute he gets home. So he will be home actually on Wednesday. So I will be. Oh, WhatsApp. That's what I contact him with. WhatsApp. I never heard of that before, but apparently it's a messaging type app. So once he gets home, I'm going to tell him actually on Tuesday when I see him personally that we want him to come back and we just want to talk about the history of printing and that sort of thing, the history of ink development, all of that good stuff. And you guys can open up the floor for questions. I am not sure. I am not sure. Maybe one exists, but it's just not a very convenient printer to use a SIS on it, um, because you have to have the hoses coming out. You would have to have the lid halfway open, and then you can never use your scanner. So why, no. Actually, refilling it is a piece of cake, unless you're going to be printing that much. Um, and again, I just don't know if one actually exists or not. All right. So that's going to be it. I'm going to go ahead and transfer over to the video. Thank you so much again. We'll see you next Sunday at noon, and eyes open for the daily uploads. Thank you again. Bye bye, everyone. Come on. There we go.